In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am, letting fear and worry fall away from me. I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. When I lose myself, when I think I lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. There is only
I have to be one of the luckiest men in the world to have a wife that can sing like that. So, whether or not my message is truly great, to be able to have music and to be able to be married to a woman who inspires me, I just feel wonderful about that. I'm so excited today, I think I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot what I was going to speak about. Libby was sharing to me, like she said, I had to come today because I had this vision. I had this vision that you and Fawny were going to actually be doing this. And I said, really, I had a vision there was going to be a clown in the audience.
It's National Clown Week. Thank you, Trixie.
But what I really want to say is, as many people know, being a Toastmaster, you have to get over the nerves. You have to get to the point where you can feel that you can speak with ease and you have confidence and you're organized of mind. And at the same time, when you blend Toastmaster skills with science of mind and with the teaching that goes on here, it actually helps you from all presentation, from all levels of being able to connect. But one of the best things for helping a speaker is smiles from the audience. So can I see smiles from the audience? Can I see really bright smiles? Big bright smiles? You deserve a Think Positive shirt. There you go. There you go. And I see another one right there.
Thank you very much.
And the other thing I want to say is Rev Emile, thank you for the opportunity. Because as I've grown to know you and how we've gotten closer and how we've become true friends, I realize the nature of who you are is you hold the space of helping others become great, helping others on their path. And there's an interesting story around this. It's funny how the divine works out. Rev Emile was supposed to be gone, was it last week? I think it was. So he was scheduled to be out of town, and a month prior he had called me and asked if I could take his spot. And of course, I jumped at the excitement. And then within a matter of time, Joan emails me and says, what is your topic? And I said, well, what is the topic? Because I know Rev Emile creates these topics throughout the rest of the year. And I said, what is the topic? I'm probably going to find it's going to be something I would like. And it was something about no need to know how. And I heard that and I said, perfect! That's exactly what I want to speak about. And then, as divine works out perfect miracles, Rev Emile wasn't leaving. And on top of that, there was a singer that was scheduled, and I really wanted to sing with my dear wife. I would speak with my dear wife singing. So, he said, would you like to change? And I'm like, yeah, that works for me. I had other activities going on in my life. We were moving, just like Reverend Emile and Deborah are moving. And so I said, this kind of works perfect. Well, what's your topic? Well, what topic do we have? The topic was Spiritual Living 101. And I'm like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to talk about. So it all works. And the question is, what is Spiritual Living 101? We hear about Cooking 101, classes that are like garage cleaning 101. We hear about these as being the basics or the beginning, in the beginning. We hear about these classes that kind of teach us those necessary steps to broaden ourselves in the subject matter. But I believe spirituality or spiritual living 101 probably goes on forever. It's forever expanding. How many people here would say they come from a mindset of what would be called skeptically curious? Anybody at all? I see a few hands go up. And you know, when you think about that for a second, I mean, why not? I grew up in a multi-religious background. My mother was Catholic, my father was Protestant, I grew up in a Jewish neighborhood, and I married a Muslim. I'm religiously neutral. I don't want to fight with anybody, but I found myself very spiritually connected. And it's from that mindset of being skeptically curious. I always question everything. You know, if I hear something in the world out there, and it connects with in here, then I know that the answer shows some truth to me. And being curious is asking those questions, like, really, what does make the earth spin? Who are we? What is this thing called life? When we start asking those bigger questions, you start filling your life with those answers. So when we start to question Spiritual Living 101, we start to wonder, how can we walk, can we talk, can we exist, can we be in a more uplifting presence, not only for ourselves, but for the world around us, for the greater world as a whole. So Mark, if you can go to the next slide. I put down basically 4 things that is true for me that I want to share with you, but by all means be skeptically curious. Make sure that they resonate with your heart. Follow your heart. Understand and practice law. When I talk about spiritual law, when we talk about what we talk about here with science of mind. Fill yourself, your life, with that attitude of gratitude, that higher vibration. And then being in the flow, by being a presence in the universe, by giving. A lot of times we talk about, well, I can't really give until I receive, but it's the nature of giving that allows us to receive. It's giving of our gifts, it's giving our time, it's giving our money, it's giving of our presence. So with the first one, following your heart, and number 2, understanding and practicing law, these are kind of like self-discovery things. We don't always follow our heart, do we? I mean, many of us are probably today doing something different than what we maybe originally went to school for. How many people found themselves doing something different than what they studied? All right, well, I changed my major, 3 times? And ultimately, I did not pursue that which I studied in college at all. Life is forever unfolding. It's an adventure. And I think the more we can recognize and listen to that heart space, that inner desire, the more things are going to flow for us. One of the things are going to start to work out. We're going to walk in that path of spiritual enlightenment coming from our innermost, our soul's desire. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, the clown says yes. The other thing is, this whole practice and understanding law, understanding spiritual law, we can read 1,000 books, but until it happens to you, until you have a demonstration of manifestation, until you actually have been in that process and you kind of get it, you have that aha moment. And I know I see some heads nodding. We all have those aha moments, right? You know, sometimes they happen when we're younger, but we're in the right path and at the right time they happen. And sometimes there are multiple times that they happen. Sometimes they're just rebuilding and reconnecting us with the faith that, hey, this stuff works. That my thoughts do create my reality. So I want to share a story, basically how I discovered both 1 and 2, and it kind of somewhat enlightened me. And you know, we have lots of these things, but I had made a decision that I wanted to go into the field of sales. Not just any field of sales, but it was a field of selling a particular piece of equipment that I was actually an engineer, a mechanical engineer designing. And what really happened, if I take it back, was I had changed my college degree 3 times. I was in education, I was in agriculture, and then I went into mechanical engineering. Not really connected, or are they? Yet, when I got to mechanical engineering, I said, this is it. My dad was a mechanical engineer. I borrowed money off of him, so I kind of had to say this was it. I am born to be a mechanical engineer, right? Genetically blessed. And I got in this job, and I really enjoyed the designing of this equipment. I thought it was neat. It was the first computerized sign-making machine. It actually had a little knife blade that could be programmed. It could cut out letters, and they're adhesive-backed letters, and you could stick them on, and you could make signs. Prior to that, it was just paintbrushes and artists. But what I realized was I just hated this job. I didn't like cubicles. I didn't like fluorescent lights. It felt stale. I didn't like the energy there. And yet I had dedicated my time for this one last degree to become a mechanical engineer, and I hated what I was doing. How many people have ever been in an experience where you just know it's not this? They don't know what it is, but they just know it's not this. So here I was saying that I know I needed to do something different. And what I related to was where I saw excitement. I had 2 friends that were actually in sales, outside sales, and for this company, they were a manufacturer and they don't sell, they have marketing. All their sales go through distributors throughout the world. And these 2 friends of mine worked for a distributor, and they loved life. I could see it in their eyes. They were out in the real world, they were demonstrating this equipment, they were teaching people how to use it. They were, you know, of course they were making great commission checks too, but they were enjoying the whole process of it. And I said, that's exactly what I want to do. And of course, you know, I got all my friends and my family say, okay, Ron, you're changing your mind again, aren't you? I had made a commitment, and I realized that this was a life-changing commitment. I had a territory that I was able to get, and I was able to anchor with a company that was a distributor, that was an up-and-coming, growing distributor for this equipment. And it would involve me moving away from my home in Connecticut, from friends, from family. I would have a territory that was Southern Virginia, Northern North Carolina. And so I moved down there, and I was going from a secure salary, paycheck, to something that was called 100% commission. All right? Don't sell, don't eat, don't live. And I'm like, I can do this. I went and I took the Dale Carnegie sales training program. Anybody been through a Dale Carnegie program? They're excellent. And I went through professional selling skills, and I knew this equipment because I had designed it, so I knew it was phenomenal.
Oh, wow.
Within 3 months, I hadn't sold anything. And within 3 months, I was really feeling this is not me. I can't do this. You know, talking about the genetic, you know, the blood type for an engineer. Maybe I really am an engineer and I just hate it. I got to go back. And I didn't want to admit it to my family. And actually, I did sell one thing. I sold my car. I had 2 cars at the time. One worked, one was on blocks. It was a project car. That sold, that got me cash, that got me a little bit more time. At that point where I really was giving up, I was doing one of these things, you know, the type where you kind of get angry and you're like, this isn't for me, and I'm just ranting and raving, walking around in my apartment, which was actually, hadn't paid my next rent check, and I'm walking around, I'm saying, this is not working. And I decided I was going to make a decision to call. I was still friends with my old boss. I was going to call back and I was going to see if I could get my job back. And I was getting ready to reach for the phone, and the phone rang. And the person that was on the other end of this phone was a person who had been in sales for quite some time. Was a person who I knew, and I would call this person what I would say would be a mentor or a coach or a friend. Back then we really didn't talk much about coaches, but this person was very much a coach to me. And he basically said, Ron, he listened to my sob story, but he basically said, Ron, here's the deal. You can either quit or you can commit, but don't hang out in the middle. And what he said, he goes, you can quit, you can be okay with that, you can go back and get your engineering job, and you can say this was a lesson, and you go forward. Or you can commit to excellence. You can commit to being the best. You can read all the material. You can study this. You can see yourself as a golden salesperson and move forward in life. But don't hang out in the middle. Don't just flop around. Don't just complain about it. Don't just sit there feeling that you can't do this and stressing your difficulties. And then he would get into actually telling me what to do. He was really empowering. He said, I want you to read, and he had me read Think and Grow Rich. He had me read Magic of Believing. I subscribed to Nightingale Conan. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Nightingale Conan. I would listen to Tony Robbins. I've listened to a lot of self-help. Okay, back then I had some self-help, but it was more like shelf help. You know, it was sitting on a shelf. I actually was engaged because this gentleman actually made me make a commitment to being great. And secondarily, he said, here's the other thing I want you to do. You know what we really are, who we really are? You know what life really is? He says, we are spirit living, having a human experience. And as bizarre as it sounded, something inside of me said yes to that. I got that. And I think sometimes when we have these uncoveries and these aha moments, and somebody teaches us something that is about spiritual law, we do connect. We say, you know, I've known this all along. I've just never given myself permission to know it. And so he said, we have the key. Basically, our thoughts create our reality. And if you change your thinking, you can change your life. And he would teach me these things. And he would have me commit to 5 to 10 minutes every morning of doing a visualization exercise of seeing it already happening. And being grateful for the fact that it did. And before I got off the phone with him, he walked me through it. He says, Ron, tell me exactly what would it look like to see a happy customer? What would it look like to actually receive a commission check, and how would you spend it? What would it feel like to be able to unbox that equipment, show the customer how to plug it in and train them on it? What would it feel like to see them making their first sign? What about that excitement there? And I went into this activity, and it's funny because every time we do this, when it really happens, we get this excitement. We say, this stuff works. Within about a week's time, my phone started ringing me. I was getting hang-ups, and I was calling. This was the point where now things would seem to come to me. And by doing this practice, I realized I really sold myself that the law works. See, it's not so much the outcome, it's the lesson. The lesson is greater. It's the greater value. So I sold myself that this stuff really works. And I actually landed a very, very large sale. It was one of the largest sales of the company. It was to a company called Lilly & Vernon Corporation. I don't know if you're aware of this company. And the reality was we were all looking for these mom and pop sign shops to try to sell to. And here was one company that was right in Virginia Beach, right in my territory, and they were looking to buy like 20 of these units. And of course, they wanted to buy all the materials with it, and it was like a $240,000 sale, and most people were selling $10,000 to $15,000 orders. So I ended up finding that this stuff really, really worked. I'm not here to say it's just for sales, though. It works in pretty much every domain, right? whether it's for healing and wellness, whether it's for relationship or just your creative expression into the world, whether it's to perhaps create something that might seem relatively trivial or small, or to make something grand and to help and make the world a better place. We know this stuff works. And so when we follow our heart, and we really be connected on that flow of really what we want to do, our passion, and we give ourselves permission for that, and then the second thing is we understand, we start to begin to understand how this works, how our thoughts create our reality, how we can intentionally do an activity. That's the practice, is to practice it. That's what being a practitioner is to be in the practice of that consciousness of creation. So you're deliberate. And as we know, it has happened in many people's lives, many of the people that are here. We're talking about Spirituality 101, but I already feel like you're at 102, or 103, or 104, okay? You're beyond the message, but yet we know that this is the practical stuff that works. This is the practical stuff that really makes a difference, not only in our lives, but it helps us make a difference in others' lives as well. Now, I not only have experienced this from that point, I've also experienced it, as we talked about before, with my father's healing. My father had been diagnosed with cancer, and of course he has recently passed, but he passed in a very blissful, peaceful state. 14 years earlier, when he was diagnosed, he said he would have a year left to live, maybe a year and a half. The practice of this type of what we call conscious creation certainly, I feel, made a difference in his life, made a difference in our entire family's life. There were moments where doctors would actually literally say he looked like a new man. There were moments when they were like, oh yes, the chemo's working. In reality, he was getting healthier, I believe, from spiritual mind treatment, from us practicing this. And if you go to the next slide, Mark. What I want to share with you is as simple as plants are. Plants are life. Plants are God. This stuff works. My daughter Nicole came to me and said, I need to do a science experiment. I need to do a science experiment for school. And I said, cool. Let's do something with the mind. And I let her kind of create it. We talked about it a little bit, and she said, you know what, I'm going to take, and I'm going to have, there's actually three pots. We only have two in the picture here. But there was 3 pots, each all with the same soil. Each all with the same number of marigold seeds. Each with the same amount of water, and each with the same amount of sunlight. One was a control, and it went to the side, and nothing was done with it. The other 2, one got negative thoughts, and one got positive thoughts. Grow, plant, grow. We love you. Blossom, grow. And I don't care who does this experiment, how many times it's done, it always works. Our intentions, our positive intentions, make a difference, not only in a plant, not only in our life, but they make a difference in the world. And the reality is, I know that I'm not oblivious to what is truly going on in the world. I know we cannot deny and stick our head in the sand of things that perhaps are not pretty. We cannot deny and say that there is not hunger, there is not problems. But equally, we cannot deny law. We cannot deny our ability to make a difference in the world. And when we shift from dwelling on what is the problems, whether it's in our individual lives or in the greater world, and then we start to say, aha, I know I can make a difference, and I know the difference is with me. A lot of times we get on the bandwagon of focusing on all the government and the power in the world, and they got all the money, and they're repressing, and they're doing all this. And when we dwell on that, we're really giving an energy to them. Right?
Yes.
We know the only difference, when we talk about mind our own business, really mind our own business, mind our own affairs. We know we can make a difference in our life. And if we can be a shining example, and if we can have an intention of our love, of our gratitude, of our beingness in the world, then we can begin to make a shift, starting with just our own selves, within our own community, within those that surround us. We can all make a difference in the world from just working with ourselves. We cannot say, hey, it doesn't exist, but we truly know the ability that we have as co-creators of the universe. If we go back to that last previous slide. So we understand following our heart gets us in that groove. We understand that practicing and using law on a regular daily basis, we can make miracles happen in our lives. Number 3 is coming from that higher vibrational state. Whether it's gratitude or whether it's love, or like we talked about in the prayer, solitude, connecting with nature, going out and sitting under a star-filled sky and breathing, feeling that which is God, that which is presence, silencing the mind from the everyday activity of things that inundate us on a regular basis. When we're in that field, things start to flow for us. When we come from that energy of non-resistance. See, a lot of times we get stuck in this mode of saying it's not happening. It's not happening, it's not happening. We're beating the drum of it's not happening. It's much like sitting in a fine restaurant and ordering from the waiter, and the waiter goes off into the kitchen, but doesn't get to the kitchen and say, where's my food? And we're just constantly observing it's not there yet, it's not there yet, it's not there yet. And one thing I really love about what Abraham Hicks says, I don't know how many people listen to Abraham Hicks, but one of the things Abraham Hicks says is just get happy. Practice the vibration of happiness, of gratitude, of love, of joy, of blissfulness. Abraham Hicks will say, go pet your cat. Do something. Go out into the woods and sit on a beach, or just sit there and just enjoy life. Be grateful for life. And have that connection. How many times when we're doing some mundane task and all of a sudden something happens, our mind was off the very thing that we're concerned about, and all of a sudden it happens? Many of the people that I was in sales with, they would be like, well, you know what, I was sitting next to the phone and I was waiting for them to call. I knew they were going to promise me they were going to give me the order today, and they were stressed over it. And then all of a sudden, a friend would call them or something, they would leave, or they go out to work on another sales call, another proposal, and guess what? Lo and behold, that thing happened. We need to look into our areas of where are we resisting. If we're sitting there saying it's not happening or I'm not worthy, we need to kind of look at that and we need to change that. And one of the better ways to do is just to be in what is the state of appreciation of all the things that are already there. Of all the things that we know are coming. Of the very fact that we know that the universe loves us. That we are guided. Knowing that there is a continuous flow of goodness out there. Beneath it all, we are loved. Coming from that state of appreciation and connecting to that on a regular basis allows us to really dance with life. It allows us to really be in that continuous embracement of God's flow. Knowing that there is no lack in the world, there truly isn't. It's just a fictitious belief in our mind. And knowing that all the blessings that we've ever received, whether it's our health, whether it's our friendship, whether it's this community, whatever it is, food on the table. When Fawny and I went through this process of this last couple of weeks, there was a lot of excitement, there was a lot of frustration. We're moving from one house to the next, going from a foreclosure situation to a short sale situation to I don't know situation. And of course my job, I have to travel. So I had to travel, and I don't know which state I was in. I think I was in Michigan or something. Minnesota. And so then Fawny's there with the kids, and I think things probably got worse when I stepped on the plane. All this that had to take place. I had the good love of both Paul and Sandy that actually stepped forth, and Gail was there too. I think Gail, I don't think she's in here, yes. Gail was there too, and they helped us kind of gather some up, and we loaded up the truck. Things happened really fast, and of course, we're still dealing with unboxing stuff and getting organized, and you know how that is. We filled our garage, and now we're slowly starting to fill the house. But we sat there with all that was going on, and we sat there, we relaxed, and we looked at each other, and we said, you know what? Life couldn't be better. There's some things we really, really noticed. We're now living on the water. We weren't living on the water before. We're now living perhaps about less than 2 miles down the street from the center. Isn't that convenient? We now have more space. More space, perhaps at this moment that we know what to do with. We'll have a party, okay? There we go. So when we sit there and we say, truly in the chaos of everything going on, there is grace. And it's that feeling of things that just keep working out, keep working out, keep working out. And I don't know how many of you feel that way, but it is one of those things that it's like, regardless of what happens, we always end up on our feet. Regardless of whatever happens, there is always grace behind the scenes making it flow. Which leads me into the next one, which is give and flow. We know that to be a full expression and to be able to share our gifts, our treasure, our kindness, our love, to be able to open a door for someone, to be able to greet somebody walking across the street with a smile, to be fully present. And whether we're doing it with our talents, like Chris plays awesome guitar, and he shares that with us, or whether we're doing it with our financial means. And if any of you are in that Prosperity Plus class, I've taken it several times, and I tell you, it works. It really, really works by committing yourself to the process of flow, of giving you receive. I see Joy's head nodding there. It really, really works. And if you've ever wanted dealing with an issue with finances, make that commitment and see the miracles happen in your life. Make the commitment. It's all about the experiment that we have to prove to ourselves. It's that skeptically curious mindset. It's that proving to ourselves and not listening to my words, but taking that and making that commitment of tithing 10% and seeing how miracles happen in your life. Okay? I used to believe that if I was to help you and I was to give you money, that you'd give it back to me. I always thought it was a one-way street, you know. But I didn't realize that God comes through all forms. And when you start to step into this mode of giving of yourself, giving of your time, giving of your money, be open to it. Because you will see, you will walk in miracles, you will see the interconnectedness of the universe that is totally expressing itself back to you with love. So, the 4 principles: follow with your heart, understand and practice spiritual law, learn as much as you can about it, embrace and practice it in your life. The attitude of gratitude. Yes, we know that there are difficulties in the world, but we can change. We can change ourselves. We can change the way we look at it. Martin Luther King didn't say, I have a problem. He didn't say, I have an issue here, man. I have a serious situation. He said, I have a dream. And he infused that attitude into millions of people, making a shift. And I believe he made a sincere difference in this world. So we can all do that, whether it's on a small scale or a grand scale. And the last is to be in that process of giving of yourself, giving of life itself. You are God. That's what you are. You are that spiritual essence of the all that is. And the more that you give and you share and you step up to that, the more that flows with you. When you give in that space of gratitude and you give that space of love and you give that space of being a positive intention to the world, that world is a positive intention back to you. You are only loved. You are only loved. You are only loved. And as you step into that flow flows back to you. It's constant. It's always on. Let us take a moment and pray. Before we enter into prayer, I just want to express that I'm grateful for being here, for having an opportunity to speak, to have an opportunity to look into each one of your eyes and recognize that feeling of love. And as I see that feeling of love that's in your hearts and in your eyes and in the essence of the entire audience here, I feel grateful for being present. As I look out into the world, I know that there are a vast variety of things that go on, but I really know it's just one thing. There is creation that's happening in many shapes and many forms, but it's only God. Call it G-O-D or G-O-O-D, it is only God and it is only good. It is the thing that is present in everything. We know that it shows up and it expresses its essence as peace, as love, as joy, as blissfulness. We know it is that personal, empowering notion that is that ever-flowing beauty of life itself. So as I know and I recognize this presence, the all that is in everything, I know clearly that it is in every single drop in the ocean, is every bright star in the sky. I know that it is you, and I know it's in I. I know that it is in everything at this moment. I am clear that there is only God. So as I know that of our connection with this divine source, and I speak these words clearly and I declare into this thing that we know as spiritual law, I know that each one of us today is changed. I know that each one of us here today is moving in a collective positive manner and an upliftment in the spirituality of their life. The spiritual 101 expression is fulfilling, expanding, and growing in all of our lives. That we walk a life of wholeness and happiness and health. That we're blessed with grace and peace. I know that only good is happening here and now. I am grateful for the day. I'm grateful for life. I am grateful for these words. As I release this to the infinite, knowing that it is already done, together we say,
So it is.
thank you.
You're good, honey. I need help with the chorus, so if you can help us out, sing along with our next song. Here's how we'll talk about how I wanted to change the world, but I always left it up for someone else to do. But then I finally realized I needed to take a stand, and that by changing my thinking I could change my life. That's how I could change the world. So let there be peace. I am a stand for peace. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace. Come on. Let there be love. I am a stand for love. Let there be joy. I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be stand for peace, love. I am a stand